Alright guys, so Dotloop is where we do all of our transactions, all of our paperwork, all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through some of the basics of how to use it and stuff like that today. And also I'm going to try to, if we have time, go through a green sheet really quick because those are kind of important because that's how you get paid. Um, so first of all, to get into Dotloop, what you're going to do is you can go right through your MyKW. If you guys are new, you had to do the Scott Leroy setup and they activate this little panel that you see here. So once all that's set up, it says Start e-transaction right here. You just click that and it'll take you right into your Dotloop. So this is basically what Dotloop looks like. You have all your active transactions, everything like that is here. So you can see all your different loops. If it doesn't look like this, there's just this little button here. They have different views, so depending on what view you like. I like this view because it has everything active and closed, and then there's a search bar here. So basically, if you go to filter, you can make sure that you filter it off as just no status. So see, you just had to click filter and see how I have checked no status and nothing else. You want to do that and filter it like that. The reason why is because it's not going to separate your active transactions from your closed transactions from anything. It's all going to go underneath one kind of umbrella. That way when you want to search for a specific thing, you just type in the search bar here and you can see it pulls it up. This way you don't have to change the filter all the time. You could pull up any address, things that are closed, things that are active, anything. You could pull right up just by typing in the address. Get what I'm saying? All right. Now, first thing you have to do is create a loop. When you create a loop, you name it the property address. Don't name it the people's name. Unless sometimes if you're working with a buyer that you haven't found them something yet, you can, but make sure that it's as an address because when you submit it to the office to get paid, they're not going to know who John Smith is. They have no idea. But they do know the property address that they're going to put to your green sheet. So make sure that you're using an address. And you hit create loop. Now, this loop is here. One thing about Dotloop that you want to keep in mind is that nothing ever goes away. Things are never deleted. You can't delete things from here. It's impossible. You can archive them. So when you archive things, they go away and they get kind of out of your face, but they're never actually gone. That way, if you have something, a contract or something in here, anything that happens and you archive it, you could always bring it back from your archived properties. So that's the idea, is that everything just stays in here. So anything you add in here will stay in here, either in archive or in the active file. So this is what it looks like. This is the basics. You have your document section here, local service providers. We don't really use that too often, but people down here. So the people area, that's probably where you're going to start out. Okay, whether you're doing a rental, a sale, anything like that, no matter what you're doing, you're going to want to start by putting in the people because you can't prepare documents for people until their name and stuff is in there. So you go in here. Let's say that we're doing a sale listing. You can do whatever. Oh, an email, whatever it is, you have to put in their email. When you're sending things to people, it has to be by separate email. You can't send all different kinds of paperwork to the same person. It has to be by email. So, for example, if you're doing a rental and there's 3 tenants, you can't send all the paperwork to one person. It has to go to each individual person because that's the only way you can guarantee it's being signed, and kind of verified by the right people. So, you're going to put in, yep. It has to go to each individual person, different emails. It can't all go to one email. Okay, so first name, last name, email, role. All the different roles are in here. In this case, like I said, if we're doing this as a sale listing, this would go under seller. Okay, if you're doing a rental, it would go under tenant, landlord, anything. But the reason why this is set up, when you have a sales transaction, especially if you're doing both sides, all different things can be in here. Listing agent, buyer's agent, buying broker, landlord, title company, all these things are here so you could have everybody in the loop and share everything through. Buyer's attorney, seller's attorney, all that kind of stuff. But for this example today, we're going to put this in as a seller. Okay, it gives you options to put in phone, their address, all that kind of stuff. If you have it, pop it in. If not, skip it. All right, so there's the person. So you'd go through, you add in as many people as are in the transaction. So if there's multiple sellers, there's multiple buyers, there's multiple anything, make sure that you're adding them all into the loop here. Okay? Follow me? Okay. All right, then after that, you're going to go up to documents. So here in the documents section, this is where you're adding things in. You do have a couple different options. So once you hit here, you hit add from. It says from computer, template, or email. Basically, you're really going to use computers or template. Adding from email is just a little superfluous because you could just download it and have it on your computer anyway. But for this case, in most cases, you're going to be doing templates. So you hit download from templates, and you go in here. Now, these folders are set up to be all different types of transactions. So going through here, you have, that's mine, market center forms. So this is where you have KW commission agreement, smoke cert applications, KW offer to purchase, commission bill template, all this stuff is in here. If you have an outside referral and they need the company W-9, that's also in here. In-house referral forms, there's a bunch of different things in here.
Outside referral, where'd you go for that one?
It's right here. KW, that's the KW City Life W-9. So that's if it's somebody else outside, they need the company W-9 in order to process checks and stuff like that, but that'll come up later. So that's under Market Center Forms. You have Kennedy Lofts if you guys do things in that building. And then it's broken down by MLS. So you have Monmouth MLS listing, change forms. So it's broken down by MLS, all different folders. But here you can see it has buyer transaction packets. So when you're working with the buyer, this is going to be where you find all of your stuff. This is where you're going to find your contract, your CIS, everything that you need to work with the buyer is going to kind of go through this buyer transaction packet here. Same thing with a rental. So if you have a rental transaction packet, it's going to go through rental transaction packet, okay? Those two are for the buying side of an agreement. Follow me? The listing side is going to go through the MLS paperwork. So you have Garden State MLS is here, Hudson County, NJ MLS. I mean, it's all in here and it tells you what they're for. So it'll say for lease, commercial, there's a bunch of different options in here. So let's say, for our example today, if we were doing this as a property for sale, we go to Hudson County MLS, property for sale. You click on it and it pulls up all of these different documents. Now, just because they're all in this packet doesn't mean in every case you're going to need to use everything that's in this packet. So some things are going to be very different. So when you're listing, you're probably not going to need a receipt of an offer yet because you're listing it, unless you already have some magical offer when you're listing. Some RESPA stuff, I mean, there's a bunch. A waiver of broker cooperation is if it's exclusive and you're not letting other people show it. But some things you are going to need. NJ Attorney General's memorandum, that's something that whenever you take a sale listing, that has to be in there for the state of New Jersey. It's not something that has to be signed. It is something that has to be in that packet, okay? Your CIS is your disclosure of your business relationship. So for the most part, in these cases, when you're filling out listing paperwork, it's going to be seller's agent and dual disclosed if the opportunity arises. Because you don't want to just put seller's agent, and then if you bring in your own buyer or somebody else from Keller Williams brings in the buyer, you're considered a dual agent. So for the most case, that's what it would be. Informed consent to dual agency. Again, this is something good. If you have this paperwork signed in advance, you don't have to stress about it later. So get it now, and then if you don't turn out to be dual, archive it. Doesn't matter. Lead paint. Lead-based paint form is if a building is before what?
1978.
Right. If you can't remember it, it's the opposite year of the year I was born. Keep that in mind. Protect your family from lead. You need that. Seller's disclosure. You could do that. Listing agreement, condo. Send now. The property description forms are broken down into different categories for sale properties. So they have condo co-op, single family, multifamily, and vacant land. Make sure that you're doing the correct one. You don't want to go to a multifamily and bring condo paperwork. You want to bring it for the appropriate one, okay? So you're going to click that. Once you have everything you need, you just hit add docs. And it pops them all in here nice. Okay? You can drag them around. I usually put the things people don't have to sign, I drag them to the bottom just so they're out of my way. But again, you can do that however you want. So now we have this folder here. You could see these three little dots on the side of every line. These are your options. I usually rename the folders so I know. So this would be listing paperwork. That way, if you come into a situation where you're going to have multiple folders, especially sometimes when you do a rental, you want to have your listing paperwork and then your rental paperwork separate. Or in this case, your sale paperwork, you would hit add new folder and make a separate folder for the sale paperwork. The reason why is it makes life easier for the office to process, and the easier it is for them to process, the quicker we get paid. We do that. All right, so you have everything in here. I'm not going to go through what each single one of these documents means. I'm just going to show you how to kind of prepare them, get them ready. So, for example, the CIS we have here right on top. When you open it up immediately, it asks for an autofill. What this is, you could put in the names of people. You can put in the names of people based on what position that they're in. So if you had two sellers, you could put both names. Listing agent, in this case, it would be yourself. Yourself and the MCA for the office or the admin is automatically in here. So you don't have to add those in. You never have to add yourself in, just the other parties that are involved in the transaction. So once you do that, you hit autofill. One key thing with autofill to keep an eye out for is just because you put something in autofill doesn't mean it's going to be correct. So please make sure you're still going through them and making sure everything's in the correct spot. So it doesn't, it's still an automated thing. So when it's automated, sometimes things get messed up. So once you're in here, there's these little boxes. These are signature spaces. Key thing to keep in mind, our seller. So we had John Seller. We already have it auto-assigned here. If we didn't, you just select it. You can see how it's highlighted. And you go right up here to this box, and you could select the person. So if you want different people, you just select, whoever it is. In this case, it auto-filled, so it's there. One key thing to remember is that, see this second box that says seller sign here? If there's only one person, make sure you click that and change it to no one. If you don't change that box to no one, whoever you send it to, it'll ask to sign it. So if you don't change it to no one, the first person that goes in and doesn't pay attention will sign every single spot that doesn't say no one. So make sure these empty spots say no one. Make sure all the spots you need are filled in. So you have that. Boxes are checked off. So this is now a prepared document. See, everything is in the right spot, ready to go. You hit save and back. If it's your first time using it, it's going to ask, you get a pop-up message. It's going to ask if you want to share it. Check do not show this again and hit no. The reason why is you never want to share one document each individual time. You want to prepare the whole packet that you're going to be sending over to the seller and send it all at one time so they don't get bombarded with 10 different emails or 10 different documents. You want one big packet sent over and it'll push it through all of them in one kind of shot so you don't confuse people.
Quick question regarding that. So that would auto-fill all the documents,
Each one as you open them.
each one as you open, and then if it's not in there and you wanted to, like, I was doing documents and it wasn't auto-filling my name, so I was dragging and dropping it.
You could still type it in or select yourself and put it through. Like I said, sometimes that autofill, well, you have to select yourself when you go in. So like, for example, if I open this one, the autofill pops up. See where it says listing agent or whatever you're functioning as on the deal, you have to make sure you select yourself there.
Gotcha.
Okay, before it fills in or else it won't fill it.
So when all the documents are done, you'll click on each document and then share it.
Yep, we're getting there. So you're going to go through and prepare them all out. Some of the ones that have address, you could add in the address here, so you don't actually have to type it in. I don't remember what I put this as. But if you fill in the address here, it'll kind of save you the trouble of typing it in over and over again because it will remember it. You hit autofill. Again, please check the autofill and make sure that it's correct. Sometimes it doesn't come through right. Also, make sure you're going through and checking off the boxes and everything. Once somebody signs a document, so say I send this to, John over here, and he signs it and I get it back and I'm like, oh no, I forgot to check off that box. If you check that box or edit anything in the document, it takes away all the signatures, which is great. But the reason for that is if I send over a contract and you sign it, when it comes back, I shouldn't be able to change everything around because now it's a signed document. So make sure that you're filling in all the fields and doing everything else, or else when it comes back and you realize you missed it, you check it off, you have to send it back and get it signed all over again. Okay, so make sure that you're filling in correctly. Now in here, you'll see, for example, it auto-filled here, but this second seller spot, we got to switch to no one. So you just click up here, no one, click up here, no one. Same thing here, up here, no one. When you have yourself going through, you can sign now. When you click sign now on an open document before it's saved and shared, you could still edit. So the signature won't go away for yourself because I just signed it and I'm in here, so I have my own authority to change things still. Okay? Yeah?
JS in front of it, what does that mean? Who's JS?
That's the signature that is signed, John in this case.
Oh, okay.
So we have the guy's name is John Seller, JS.
Oh, okay, so there's no one for second empty spot.
Yeah, it does. On this form, it doesn't matter either or. As long as they sign in one of the spots, it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter if they're first or second, or no one's first and they're second, as long as their signature's on there somewhere. Okay. So again, we save, back, and we're back into it. So from here, you're going to go through, fill everything out. Once everything is filled out, this top little checkbox here, it selects them all. So see how they all just popped up as selected. You could hit share. Once you hit share, this box comes up. So another key thing is that if you're doing something like a W-9 or an application or something that they have to type things into physically, you have to make sure that you're changing this from can sign to can fill and sign. Okay? If you have this set as can sign when you share it, the only thing that they'll have the functionality to do when they open the email will be to just sign the document. So say you send over an application that you need them to fill in information, and you just send it. Hi everybody. And you send it as just sign, that's all they can do. They won't have the option to fill it in. You'll get back a blank application with a signature on it. So make sure you click here. Can sign, can fill and sign. They have view only. There is situations that you could do view only if you're sending it to like an attorney or something like that. But for the most part, you'll be using just can sign or just can fill and sign. If there's nothing that they have to edit or fill in, can sign is fine. So once that's done, you hit share. I'm going to share. I made up an email. I don't know if it's going to somebody, but so once that's done, see this says waiting on others. So all of these will say waiting on others. What's kind of cool, if you hover over them, it tells you who they're waiting on. So say you have multiple people. Say you have John and Simon. It'll say John signed, waiting on Simon. Or it'll say, in this case, once they open it, it'll say John viewed, waiting to sign. So that's another thing when somebody's like, oh, I don't know, I never got it. You could be like, well, that's weird because you opened it. So you have that, but you can kind of see. And people do miss documents. It's something that happens all the time on a regular basis. You'll get signed, 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 waiting on others, signed, signed, signed. So if you need to resend just one, you can you can select it and hit share, and then, well, in this case it hasn't come up, but you'll be able to hit reshare. So you could always resend it to somebody right from that share button to send it over again if they missed one, and that way, because if they signed them and deleted the email you sent them, you could resend it so they have the opportunity to do it again. Okay? Also, it tells you how many people it was signed with, or sent to. In some cases, you're going to have documents that have 3 and other ones that have 2, and based on some different things. So you can see how many people were shared with to make sure it went out to everybody. But keep in mind that this is always admins included on this. So when it has 2 people, don't be shocked. It always has admin plus whoever it is. So always add 1 if you're counting on that. Okay. Now a couple other things up here at the top. You see it says activity log. This tracks everything that you do in this file and timestamps it and dates it. So, if you ever come into an issue that somebody was worried about timing, or you didn't get it to me on time or something like that, you could say, well, I sent it to you at 1:14 p.m. It tracks everything that's in here. It tracks when documents are added, when they're archived, not deleted, but when they're taken out, when they're added, everything is tracked in here. even down to who viewed them. So you could see Blake viewed a document. So that's always there to back yourself up. If you need to know when it was edited or when somebody signed it or anything like that, that's all there under activity log. Occasionally you're going to get messages in here. There's this little button, it says messages. It's almost like a little chat. Genuinely speaking, sometimes you'll get this from whoever you're doing, your clients, but for the most part, when you get messages in here, it's from Christina Trischetti telling you that you're missing something when you're trying to get paid. She'll be like, "Where's the lead disclosure form?" And you'll be like, "Ooh." So that's the messenger right in there. And then notifications. So again, it'll have notifications of when you shared, what happened. You will get notifications when it's in for processing. You'll get notifications that it was closed out, that it was tagged, that it was, finished up. So first they tag it with the DA number and then it goes to closed. So you'll get notifications so you know when you have stuff submitted, when you submit the loop for review, which I'll show you in a second, how it's going. You get an idea of when it's closed out, that way you can know you got money coming.
Is there a, since you said Christina will send messages to Greensheet something, is there a list that states everything that we need to have in that file?
Yeah, so right in those packets I showed in the beginning, the folders, they have task lists.
Oh.
Yep, right in there. All in there. Yeah, it'll say checklist because they made checklists for pretty much everything that you need right through there. Some other things. So like I said, say we have this as listing paperwork and you end up getting the sales side of it or whatever the situation is, make sure that you have each part of the transaction in a different folder. How do you do that? Right here it says add folder. You just click that and you could do it as sale, whatever it is, rental, sale, name it appropriately. And then you can go in here and add in whatever you need to add in back from here. And now you'll see they're in separate folders. So if you need the listing paperwork, here you go. If you need the sale paperwork, there it is. Kind of separated out. That way, anything that you do, you're going to submit it after you do it. So say that we have this listing paperwork, it's good, everything is signed and completed, we shared it, we got it back, right? We're going to hit submit to review, check the thing listing paperwork, select type, and listing. This question comes up on the green sheet and in almost every step. Why are you submitting for review? That's if you have something extra comments to say. You don't actually have to answer the question. Like she doesn't need to see because I did a deal. That's if you have something specific. Like sometimes you're submitting a loop and the checks are coming later that day. Submit the loop and say checks will be here by 3 or something like that. That's extra comments. You don't actually need an explanation on why you got a listing. So you just hit submit, it sends it off to the office, and then over here on this side, it'll switch from not submitted to submitted for review, okay? So then once that's in, again, the same procedure. Once you say you're doing the sales side of it, you could hit submit to review, select your sale folder, and hit buying, and then submit. Okay, so that's how you're going to submit your loops into review for the office, okay? And like I said, you will get email notifications back on, could someone just press that, let them in? She got it. You will get email notifications at each step when it's completed, okay? So that is pretty much the basics on how to use Dotloop. Do you guys have specific questions?
Just a quick question. When the other party has signed it and sent it back in, I know it will say signed on the right-hand side. Is there any, like a bell or something like that?
Yeah, you get an email.
You can set up, okay, you can
Yep.
email when they...
You'll get an email for each individual document. So for example, if I sent this over, I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd get 7 or 8 emails back. So it's really hard to miss when you got signed documents back because it really bombards you. Dotloop also has a really, really great mobile app. It's very, very easy to use and functional. So sometimes you need to share documents from your phone. It does work great, so you could download that. But yeah, there definitely is a notification.
Can you create templates so I don't have to keep putting the same information over and over again for me? Let's say I already, kind of like a simple purchase contract.
What do you mean?
So, you know how I have to input my information, the office information, every single time?
Yeah.
Create a template where I don't have to do that, and I can just fill in through that template?
No,
Okay.
because the information has to be filled in case it's different or whatever, stuff like that. Some of it, the office does have some that they could pre-fill it, but it's for all of us. Like you'll notice in the contract, in the buyer's packet, the contract has our office and license number filled in automatically. But as far as individually just for your Dotloop, there's no thing. You can put your own documents in if you go here under templates. Actually, so I guess you could if you want to go through. You could go here under templates
And then just create my
and create your own contract or something like that, and it would be here under personal. But you could put in your own contract. The only kind of snafu with that is that you would have to import it and then do each specific box and everything that you wanted and save it, but then it would be done going forward. Okay, like I do have one. I have a new listing sheet that I use all the time that I put in. It's just information, so I took a PDF and I built this myself, and now I could send this via Dotloop for people to fill in with all the information and everything like that. So you can create your own documents in here, but I did have to import this as a PDF and put all these little boxes in place, each one by one. But like you said, if you do the same thing all the time, it's worth doing it once. Another few things, let me just go back to that loop. So if I go in here, sometimes in certain situations, you're going to need to add things in. So say lead-based paint form. Say that we had 3 people that needed to sign this. If you go here under other actions, oh, nope, just kidding. You could add signatures and stuff like that to anything with the exception of NJ state forms. So the contract and stuff like that, you can't add in new fields because it's, an NJ state form. But as far as certain things, if you need to add anything else in, like say here we had a third one. No, it's not going to let me add it in this one. I'll show you in that templates actually, but one second. So say that form that we just had. All right, so in here, say I needed to add in a spot for people to sign. They do have these options under other actions that you can add in initials and then make this an assignable field. Add in signatures, add in checkboxes. If you hit add in text, you can make this whatever size you want and put text in there. Some places that this is going to come in handy that you'll see, if anybody needs an addendum or something kind of typed up for a specific deal, we do have KW letterhead in here as well, which I've used many times. So if you go in here, you add document from templates. Under Market Center forms, they have KW letterhead. So you could actually create a custom document or addendum or something like this. It's just a blank document that looks like this, but you could add in text and put a date, put the body of your text, add in signature. See what I mean? Like you could actually create documents fresh in here and then assign them to whoever needs to sign them. So say in this case, I needed the seller to sign it and I had to sign it. So that's something you could do in here as well, custom. Okay, right through there. Now, another thing that you're gonna be using a lot. So say I need to print this out. Say they wanna come sign it in person. Love that. You just select the whole folder here that you could still go through here and prepare it so everything is typed in so it's not handwritten throughout the contract or throughout the lease or throughout whatever it is. Prepare it in here and then you just select it all and hit download. It downloads as one PDF. Okay. So now we have a PDF version, which is a flat version of all these documents that we were just talking about. Maybe. No, that's going to open up in a second, but you can see. So here's the PDF version. So a lot of times if people don't use our system, stuff like that, say you have a lease or something you have to send over to somebody, or somebody wants a copy, you could download it this way and email the PDF over. Okay, so you could take it out of Dotloop if you want, as opposed to sharing it in Dotloop.
Most of my contracts I don't do because they're commercial, so it's done between the attorneys.
Mhm.
So do I need to take those contracts and upload it in here to be, if you have physical?
To
contracts?
submit, yeah. So if you have physical contracts, the same way. So whatever, that's how you download. Now to put in, say you scanned it right from the office, it comes to your email. You would have a PDF file of it then, because the scan scans the PDF. You would just hit Add Document, and you could do from computer and find it, or you could drag it right in, and it's going to input it in here. Okay. In your case with commercial, you probably wouldn't need to separate it too much. But with some cases, you're going to need to separate it. So say in this case, look, I have CIS, I have all these different things to make life easy. You could hit other actions and split document. And this brings up this, how many times you need to split it. So say we need 3 or whatever. So you could hit 3 and hit page 1 to 1 is the CIS. Page 2 to 2 is the dual. See what I'm doing? You could just name it, and you could split it as many times as you want.
Is that when you upload it?
Yeah, so when you upload it, say you upload a lease, a W-9, all that stuff, you could split it this way, and that way when it goes back to the thing, see how it's split into individual things.
I'm sure I do that split. Sorry.
Yeah. So you just go into the file, hit other actions, and split document. Also, rotate document is here. If you scan it in upside down or something like that, you could rotate it. That happens quite a bit to me. I've scanned thousands of documents. I still don't know the right direction to do it. But you just hit split documents. It pulls up here. So you have the options here. It says split into how many. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could do as many as you need to. Say in this case we had to do 2. Then you just go by page number. So you see the page number here. So you could show that page 1 to 17 is lead paint, and page 18 to 33 is contract of sale. And you could split it up. You just hit split document, and you can go back, and you can see there's the 2 things I just created as separate documents. At this point, you won't need to share because you signed it in person, or if somebody sends you something scanned in, say a landlord has his own lease, you could scan it into here and then go into them once they're a PDF document and add the spots where they need to be signed. So you could add initials, you could add signatures, and add it in. So if somebody sends you a document that you could then you could send to somebody else as an e-sign. You got me? So you could download it, take it out, you could upload it, put it back in, and edit them that way. You could split, add in signatures, add in text box, pretty much whatever you want. They have strike-throughs, they have check boxes. I still have no idea what a radio button is, but that's an option. So, yeah, you could go through just like that. Okay, does anyone have any questions on this so far?
How would you like, let's say you create a document and the transaction doesn't go through, like, and then how do you get rid of that?
You could just archive the whole folder.
Okay.
Okay. So that's, yeah, like I said, I don't know if you guys were here in the beginning, nothing in Dotloop ever gets deleted. It's impossible to delete anything. Say I separated this out and I realized we don't need lead paint, you could just click your options here and hit archive. So it does go away. See how that's gone from my face now, but it's not actually gone. So this button here, show archived.
Okay.
You could see all the things that I archived, and if you need it, you can bring it back. You just click on it and you hit unarchive, and it here, unarchive, and it kind of brings it back to life. Then you hit hide archived and see we have it back now.
Can you archive the whole transaction? Like, say
Yep. Yep, you could archive the whole entire thing. You could archive by document, you could do archive by folder, or you could just do the whole thing and have it be gone. Okay?
How did you get to the archives?
Just these little option buttons on the side. So see, it'll say archive, download, print, make a copy, rename. These are all in here. Fax, I don't even know what that is, but you could fax it, I guess, if someone has a fax machine. But again, this is another reason why you guys are going to want to keep this filter. I always keep it as no status. That way you don't have to worry. You could just use the search bar here, keep it at no status, and then everything's here. Instead of sitting here, because once you get quite a bit of loops, could you imagine if I was looking for one of my transactions and I had to sit here and do this until I found it? It would take me forever. So keep it this way and just do search straight through like that. Okay?
A filter.
So up here it says filter. Uncheck everything else and just keep it as no status. That'll keep everything as everything that you put in here. It'll have your archived in this list. It'll have your closed in this list. It'll have your sold in here, your active in here. The reason why I do this way is if somebody calls me, say 407 4th Street needs a copy of their lease. I could type in 407 4th Street, open it up, and these stay in here like for years. So I can go through, take a copy of their lease, download, and send it over to them. See what I mean? If you keep it that way, whereas if you keep these as just your active, then you're going to have to filter by leased and go through and change it. Just keep it as no status, and you can search for anything that you put in here. Okay? Okay. So that's pretty much the basics of this. Do you guys have questions about that?
No status is archive, right?
Huh?
No status is archive.
No status is everything. When you check off no status, that's going to be your archived, your closed, your anything, and then you just use this little search bar, and you can search by address.
You have to submit everything to Dotloop.
Everything through Dotloop.
You do.
You don't have to, but unless you want to get paid, then you have
Oh,
to. Yeah, everything. So in order to complete a transaction, you need three things. You need one, checks. So the checks get submitted either to Joanna if you're here, or in the other office to the front desk. There is a slip that goes with it. You put your name, the address, and it has a couple of questions. Are you in coaching? Who's your coach? Has a loop been submitted? You check off the questions, staple it together, and either give it here or the other office. So that's step one, because you can't get paid until you get checks in. Step two, you have to submit the loop to review, which is what we just went through, that you hit submit for review. And step three is the green sheet. You have to do a green sheet. Okay? So the way that the actual setup works is that it goes over, they get the loop, they're going to check to make sure that they have the checks to go with it, and check for compliance. They'll make sure that all the documents that you need to close are in there, and again, there is checklists in the folders. So they'll match up the checks with the loop. Once the loop is compliant, they tag the loop, and then they close it out. So once it's closed out, it goes over to Joanna with the check, and it gets into the queue to get paid. At that point, they're going to pull up your green sheet. So they have the information, who has what, how many people were involved in it, all that kind of stuff. And once they verify the green sheet is good, they close out everything, and you get your check.
Where are these green sheets?
We'll do that. We'll show you green sheets real quick. So in order to do, well, are you guys good with Dotloop before I get into green sheets?
I did an exclusive buyers agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a part that says, check if you are not looking to purchase another state, or if you are purchasing another state, where. And I added, like, 2 little boxes where they can just, like, add text, like, a X, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you did it too? Or
You would add checkbox.
add checkbox, so
Yeah.
allow you know,
Yeah, so sometimes the field, when we put forms into Dotloop, we send it out and they set it up for us. There is going to be occasions where they miss a checkbox or they miss something. Exactly, though. You would add text. You could add in a text box, add in a checkbox, stuff like that. That's kind of a specialized situation, but yeah,
that works.
that works. Exactly. Your same thing if you're uploading. Some people use their own forms for different things. Like if you use a different version of the exclusive buyers, you could upload that and create it in your templates and build it out that way. Yeah, correct. All right, so green sheets, my favorite part. So you go to your mykw.kw.kw.kw.com and you go to technology, and then right here under technology it says green sheets. So you click that. It brings you here. In here you can go through and see what like green sheets you have active or accepted, like you're getting checks through or whatever. They'll all be under here if you want to check in and see if it's been looked at yet. But for the most part, you're going to come here. They process checks very, very quick in this office. Joanna's crazy. Like they come out crazy fast compared to other KWs. Other KWs usually have about a 10-day wait. We usually get ours in like 2 to 3 days. So be happy about that. So you go in here, you go to create a green sheet. No matter what's going on, always put no to these questions. Just no, no. Don't even read them. Just put no, okay? The only reason they have those questions in the green sheet is to connect it to KWLS. So if this is something that was not put in KWLS, it's going to bring you there. It's going to make you input a whole listing and then take you to here, which is completely unnecessary because you don't need it. So no and no, no matter what, okay? All right, so basically this is your green sheet. The green sheet looks much scarier than it actually is. Once you get a couple of them down, you'll be able to fly right through them. MLS number, so you're gonna put in the number of the MLS. If it's something that was an off-market property, you just put 9999. That's German for no, it's not on the MLS. Has it been updated in showing time? Put yes. If it's not, go do it. Don't put no, it's gonna hold everything up. Just put yes and then do it right now in a new tab, okay? Now down here, green sheet type, residential or commercial. For this case, we'll do residential because there's really only minor changes between it. It's just going to be a matter of review times and stuff like that. So contract date. Okay, so green sheets. You do your green sheet on a rental when you have the checks. Okay, when you have the money and the loop's done and everything's signed. For a sale, you do the green sheet when you get out of attorney review. As soon as you go from being DABO'd, deposit accepted by owner, to under contract, which is when you're out of attorney review, that's when you're doing the green sheet for this. Don't stall on it because the reason is they do transmittal every month, so they kind of use the green sheets to see what's going on and what's happening, and you want to make sure that you're going to be able to get paid as soon as it's done. If you shock them or surprise them with a $20,000 paycheck, guess what? You're going to be waiting a little bit. So make sure that you do these with the correct timing, okay? Nothing worse than having a closing and having to wait to get paid. So you have your contract date, you have your closing date.
While it's under contract, you're saying?
As soon as you get out of attorney review, when you get that notice that attorney review has concluded, do your green sheet. You don't have to submit the loop yet, but do your green sheet, okay? So contract date, close date, property type. We'll do this as a double-ended sale so you could see, but there's very minor differences. So if it's double-ended, both listing and sale. Also, the only time you have to do a green sheet for 2 people is if it's within the company or yourself. So if you're doing this, say I'm doing this and I had a sale listing and somebody from Empire sold it. No, Empire's gone, but somebody from Empire somehow sold it. I would just put it as listing sold. They're not concerned with the outside portion of it because we're really never going to see that check. We're not cutting a check to them. It doesn't matter to them. This is for money. Okay? So for this case, I'm going to do both, but you have the buyer side, the listing side, and then both, just like that. So in here, we're going to put it through as property. If it's a rental, you would put it through as lease. Property type, resale, or whatever it is, farm and ranch, whatever you guys decide. Street address. So this is where you're going to put in the street address. Wow, look at my great typing skills right now. Again, the red boxes are what you have to fill in. Oh, and this says county, not country. County. They know that you're in the United States. Unit number, again, if it's something that has a unit number, you put in the unit number. If not, you could put 0. Situations, you'd put 0. If it's an entire house, big space, commercial property, stuff like that, you'd put 0. All right, so next section, sale price. This is the part that always throws everybody off for some reason. Sale price is the total sale price. So let's say this one was $1 million. If it's a rental, it's the total aggregated rent. Okay, so say it was a $2,000 rental for 12 months, it would be $24,000 would go in here. Okay, the total for the entire term, if it was a 2-year lease, it would be $48,000 in that case. But for the whole entire term, that's what goes in here. All right. For a rental, let me just go through real quick. If this was 2,000, you would hit flat because there's one set. All right, you're following me? So it'd be like 1,000 and 1,000. The MLS fee, when there's that differential in the MLS fee, you do that later. So you don't have to fill that in here yet. Just split it up half and half. Again, if this is with another agency, you're just doing your half. So say this was my rental listing, I put 1,000 and that's it. Okay? But if this is a sale one, $1 million, you put in your listing commission and the sale commission. If it's one-sided, you'll just put in whatever your one side is, okay? Everyone following me? You have questions on that?
Okay, yes. So on this instance, you have the sale and the listing.
Uh-huh.
So if you only have the listing, so 0 on the sale?
The other side wouldn't be there.
Oh, it just wouldn't, oh.
Remember
I
when we
see.
selected that at the top, that it had buyer sale, list sale, or both? The only reason why it has both here is because I put in that it had both. Okay, so the other one just wouldn't be there, period.
Now, if that was a rental and you listed and rented it, and the annual was 23,000, you would boost that up to 46,000 on the total sales volume,
No.
because you're getting both ends.
No. It's just the total price. You don't double the volume, because the volume's still the same price. Like a $24,000 rental is still $24,000.
If you're on the listing end, you get 23, and then if you want a rental end, you get an additional 23. You only want to put the 123 in there?
Yeah, so look, if this was a rental and it was, say, $2,000 a month, it'd be $24,000. This would be $1,000 and $1,000 here, because you get both ends of the commission. You don't double the price because it wasn't double the price. You just got both ends of the commission.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One
Okay.
more question.
Yeah.
You're on the buyer's end, and you know how they deduct minus 200?
Yeah,
minus-
it's still split here. So say in this case there's that differential, that's a little bit later. So we'll get down to that. You still just split it out. So even if this, in this case, this could be me doing both ends, or this could be me doing a deal with you, it would still be both ends within office. You only don't have to do the other side when it's out of office. So anything within Keller Williams or yourself as a dual agent, you do both, and I'll show you how to split that out. All right, so you go to next, you put the buyer, buyer's attorney. If this is a rental, you put NA. If it's not a rental, you put whatever the attorney's name is. The seller, whatever it is, you put that in there. All right, agent details. So this is another part that tends to throw people for a loop. So a couple different situations. If you're doing this with an outside office, you will have this one column because you're getting paid. If this was your listing or your buyer or your renter or your landlord and somebody from Liberty did the other half, this is your one column, this is where you live, that's it, okay? If you're doing it with somebody within Keller Williams or yourself, you have two columns. So even if it's yourself, you add yourself to the second column and process it as the buyer side and the seller side, both with your name. Okay? So here you hit this little magnifying glass. You could pull it up and say I did both ends of this. You would put yourself and select it. But whoever it is, you just type in their last name and it comes right up. You hit select, okay? So now we have two separate columns for each side of the deal. All right? You just have to go through each what they are. So agent role here, individual agent. For most of you, this is always going to be individual agent. The other ones are if you're on a team, listing specialist, buyer specialist, stuff like that. But that's something you can work out with your Rainmaker. Type. So you have listing and buyer sale, okay? One column for each part of the transaction. Listing units, each side has to add up to 1. Say that there's a third person, say that there was 2 listing agents and then a selling agent, this would be 0.5 and 0.5. You only get 1 unit for each side of the deal. So every transaction, there's 1 listing unit and 1 buying unit, whether it's a rental, a sale, anything like that, okay? It automatically pops in your commission here. This is what we were talking about on the MLS. So it's whatever minus 275 or minus 100 for a rental, or you know that differential there. This is where you put it in. So the listing agent gets the bonus admin fee. So let's say it's 275. that's where you're putting it in there, okay? Split with market center until you cap, you're gonna split with the market center. Capped on royalty, until you cap on your royalty, you're gonna put no. And then down here, this is the charity stuff. So if you wanna donate, you know, whatever you can donate, it doesn't matter. This is where you could put it in. And then down here on the buy side, this is where you take the deduction from the other side. So you type in what it's for, and then the amount, okay? So we added it to the seller's side up here, and we took it off the buyer's side down here, okay? Another thing I missed here is agency. If you're working as the buyer, the seller, or dual, if you have two columns in here, it's probably dual. If you're one column, it's either going to be buyer or seller, okay? So does anyone have questions on that part? I know that part usually throws people a little bit. But.
So, quick question, so you do the two, just so I can make sure that I'm sinking in. So you only do the two if it's two Keller Williams agents?
Or yourself.
Exactly, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's another agent from somewhere else, obviously it's just.
Yeah, it's just the one. An easy way to think about it is when you go to the closing, say you go to the closing on a house, they don't give you both sides checks. They only give you the one. So we're only going to be reporting on the one check that we get. Does that kind of help? That's how it helps me think about it. Is that
For the MLS fee, which side is that on?
So the listing, it goes to the listing agent off of the other agent, okay? Now, you don't have to put that in here if you're only doing one side of the transaction too, because the amount of the check, it's already going to be reflected in the amount of the check. So say it was a $2,000 rental, plus minus 100, their check was for 1,100, ours was for 900. You don't have to deduct anything because then they're going to take another 100. It's already out of there. Okay, so that's only if you have two columns in here that you have to do that plus minus ourselves. All right. Down here, it gives you an estimated check. Wouldn't we all love to just get a double-ended check like this? And then you hit next, co-broke. This is if you worked with an agent that you know you really liked or whatever, and you want Dana to reach out. If you don't have to fill this out, but if you fill this section out, it'll go and they'll reach out to them. So you put the agent name, where they work. Did you talk to them about recruiting? Would they be a good fit? No, they were mean. Yeah. And then vendors, I believe they are going to make a few required fields in here. But if you're doing a green sheet and you don't know who the lender was on a deal, you should probably consider figuring that out anyway. But for now, it's not required, so you don't have to fill it in. Hit next. Notes. Again, you don't have to put anything in here. I always try to keep my notes and everything lean unless it's something that's like really important, like, you know, closing today or checks in, you know, whatever. Any kind of notes that you have to put in there that are pertinent. Don't be like, yay, I sold it. You know, they don't want to hear it. Once that's done, you hit submit to market center. It'll say partially accepted. And then again, like we talked about, as things close out, it'll, you know, you'll get notifications that it's all done. And then when you see that the loop is closed and the green sheet is closed, you know that money's coming.
One small question. So you just said you only add the plus or minus the MLS fees when you're on both ends.
Or it's in office.
Or it's in office.
Yep.
So if I'm representing the buyer and it's already taken out of my check, I don't have to add anything?
You don't have to add anything because when you put this up here on a one-sided deal, you would put the amount of the check in.
Oh, so that's what I was going to ask. Because when you put in the through commission, it will give you a different amount. And
Yeah.
You've seen $200.
Yeah. Well, no, if you put the percentage then you could take that out. But if you put the check amount, it depends on kind of which way you're doing it.
Okay.
But if you put up the flat percentage in and this,
Okay.
yeah, and this amount doesn't match, then you could take it out. If that amount matches the check, then don't take it out.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, guys? No? All right. So I'm going to